Γεια σας, το Guitarspot βρίσκεται σήμερα στο κατάστημα Καρμάκης, στην Εμμανουήλ Μπενάκη, όπου έχουμε την εξαιρετική χαρά και τιμή να φιλοξενούμε κοντά μας τον Uli Jon Roth, που ήταν εδώ για να υπογράψει αυτόγραφα, στα πλαίσια της περιοδίας του με τον Guest G, και σήμερα το βράδυ θα εμφανιστούν στο Κύτταρο. Mr. Uli Jon Roth, thank you for the time you're taking to do this interview with us. I know you have a very tiring day today.
Yeah, today was a little tough because we did not have much sleep. We played in Cyprus yesterday, Larnaca, and I think we were in bed by 3:30, and then in the morning we had to be at the airport at 7:30. And the night before was pretty much the same. When we played Edessa, we had to catch the plane from Thessaloniki. So, other than that, I feel great.
How's been your tour so far in Greece?
It's been really nice, yeah. I mean, I always enjoy playing in Greece, you know, so for me it's like, if I got more sleep, it would be like a holiday. Other than that, it's still very nice. I like being here. I love meeting the Greek fans, and
which love you very much.
Always. This time the weather sucked. We were hoping for a little bit better than England, but it was worse than England. So, but anyways, you can't have it all.
Talk to me about this setup we have with Guest G and all the other guys that you're touring. How did this came up, and how do you feel about it?
It came up because, first of all, Gus and we've known each other for quite some time now, because we met in the past, and we played together in the past also sometimes, and the promoter of these shows, Elias, it was his idea to do this package, you know, and I thought it was a really good idea. That's why we're here, you know. Mm-hmm. It's sometimes interesting to play with different musicians in different environments, and yeah.
And how do you feel about it so far? Is it musically intriguing? Is it interesting? Is it different in any ways from other shows you've done before?
Every show is different. Each tour is different, you know. And
is it more like a controlled environment with the projects that you did in the past with Scorpions and other bands than with this? This is more free?
It's not more free, no. When I do my own show, it's more free, because I do 3-hour shows and then I don't have a set list. I will just play, you know, and do a lot of improvising. Here, when you have like several musicians, several artists together, it's a little more structured. You say, okay, you play for 60 minutes, you play for so-and-so, and then we play together. You decide the songs beforehand. So it's actually less free in that sense, but you know, less free sometimes can be good and can be interesting, you know. Mm-hmm. So I've done so many different constellations, and this is another constellation, and so far it's been very enjoyable, also because we get on very well as friends, you know. I really like Gus. He's you know, a good guy to tour with, and the same with Jorn Lande and Mats. They're all very easygoing people, you know. When you're on tour with people that have psychological problems, then it's not fun, you know. But actually that's very rare. I normally make sure that I go out with people who, you know.
But perhaps in the early days you did go out.
No. In the early days I only played with the Scorpions, and that was easy.
What was the first time you had your hands on an electric guitar?
Our neighbors, they had a band, and we were friends, you know. And I was a little bit younger, and I used to go with them. And probably one of their guitars, I still remember what it looked like. That was probably the one that I tried first, you know. But I remember I started on the guitar with 4 strings. Very soon I switched to lead guitar. They needed a lead guitar player in that band, you know, and I enjoyed the sound of the lead guitar. You know, it was something ringing to it, some.
Did you have
Certain
some
kind of
guitar
magic.
heroes by that time?
No, at that time I was really a Beatles fan. I loved the music of the Beatles before I even played any instruments, so it was that sound that was in my mind. The guitar, Jimi Hendrix and Eric Clapton, that came a little bit later.
When did you started to make your own sound? Put the things that you did, little nuances.
I made my own sound as soon as I started to play the guitar.
Which of course was not the same.
Like everybody. The guitar is the one instrument where everybody sounds different. No two guitar players are the same. They're all different. When you play the piano, it's sometimes hard to tell people apart, but on the guitar, everybody can play the same note and everybody will sound different. And I think I was no exception. From the beginning, I felt extremely comfortable with the instrument, and it just came to me so quickly that I was even astonished myself how easy it was. It was just so easy. It was almost like too easy.
Did you take any lessons?
At the
guitar?
time when I started, there were no teachers. The electric guitar was still very young. You had maybe classical guitar teachers, but not for the electric guitar. Maybe there were, I've never heard of that, At that time we learned by listening to records. That's how we learned. We learned it ourselves.
In what point did you start incorporating the neoclassical music?
That was a little bit later. In the beginning.
What was the thing that got you started that?
Well, you see, I got into a classical guitar
Afterwards.
very soon. Yeah, classical guitar and flamenco guitar. I loved that, and I started listening more to classical music. To violin concertos and stuff like that, and it was a natural thing for me to want to do something similar on the guitar, because I thought this is the ultimate kind of music. When I heard classical music, I thought it was kind of superior.
Do you think that studying the classical music and the theory is important for guitarists, especially when they're starting, or it just helped you in particular?
Only if you want to become really good. If you want to become really versatile and well-rounded as a guitar player, absolutely. There is no better training than classical music. There is no better school. You get 400 years of the finest teaching. In electric guitar you don't get that. You get maybe 50 years, something like that. And I benefited from that. I understood that very early when I saw the difference between the classical violin players and the electric guitar players in terms of technique. And so the guitar players were like little babies in comparison, and the violin players were so advanced. And I thought there's something wrong with this picture. We need to have the electric guitar more on a level so it can be on a similar level of quality, of expression, and also of width, scope of expression. Because when I first started, it was the time of Jimi Hendrix and Eric Clapton, and they played pentatonic, and they were perfect in the pentatonic. And on the electric guitar, back then there were very few people who played anything else than pentatonic. There was a little bit of harmonic minor with some of them, but not nobody played any arpeggio. But in classical music, arpeggios were totally normal on the piano, normal. On the violin, it was normal. And I thought to myself, why is nobody playing any arpeggios on the electric guitar? Mind you, in the beginning it was not so easy because the technique didn't exist.
So you had to create.
Well, yeah, actually, you know, I had to think, oh, how can I do this? So I learned, you know, the scores for the violin concertos, and I took some of that technique and brought it to the electric guitar. But I tell you, in jazz, you had Django Reinhardt. He was already playing all that stuff like 30 years before, but nobody knew about it. And rock.
Yeah.
The rock players were, well, I don't want to say uneducated. Yes, they were uneducated. They were really just into one thing. And the ones that I knew, at least the ones that were famous, they didn't seem to branch out into any of the other stuff.
It was a different era then.
Yeah, it was
the communication and the information
absolutely.
were more difficult.
You didn't have, you know, a magazine or a CD that showed you, oh, you have to do this, here's your fingering. It didn't exist.
And you didn't have any conscience in that. What you did then would influence so many people.
Yeah, I didn't think about any of that, actually. I just wanted
When did you started realizing that, though?
That was later, when people started copying it, you know, and then you say, oh.
And you didn't have YouTube then to see your copycats. How did you come about? People that started copying you through records? And you held stuff and you said, oh, that sounds familiar, that sounds familiar.
By that time I stopped listening to records a long time ago.
Why?
1976 or something like that.
When did you stop listening to records?
I didn't have any more desire to do it.
In records in general or rock records?
Yeah, I never listened to any rock records.
Well, that's very interesting because you're a guitarist that has produced a lot of work through the years, and you say that from 76 and on you don't really listen to other music?
I never did. You know what I did? I play piano and I have the scores of the old masters. This is how I studied and learned. You know, and to me that's enough most of the time. You know. So I just didn't have any desire, you know.
During your career you have played with a lot of guitarists, in collaborations, in bands and stuff like that. Did you think that you learned from them as well? Or did you discover stuff
Not really. I learned before. You know, once you find your own way, you know, I don't know. What is there to learn? A new arpeggio or what? It's all been done before, you know. So, no. A long time ago, I found a voice and a way that I wanted to express myself in. And when I meet another guitar player who is doing the same, it's interesting. We play on stage and we communicate, you know, but it's not really like an influence. Every once in a while I hear something else, I think, oh, that's a good idea, you know, and maybe then that would do something, but it's, you know, that's actually quite rare.
Okay.
Some guitar players do that more than others, you know. Some guitar players are always really interesting and groundbreaking, like Jeff Beck, for instance. You know, whenever I hear Jeff Beck play, I say, oh wow, he's doing something really interesting, and it's always different.
Yeah, he's reinventing himself.
Yeah, exactly. I like that. You know, most guitar players don't do that. They always play the same thing.
Do you think you do that? Do you think that you do that? You reinvent yourself?
Yes.
Okay.
Always.
Okay.
Each time when I touch the guitar, I find something new. That's why, and the reason is because I don't play so much. I play very little. Most of the time I only take the guitar when I'm on stage. And for me that's good, because then it's always fresh.
You warm up though? You don't warm up? You just take the guitar and...
I've never warmed up.
Okay.
No. I don't like that. I like to keep it for the stage, you know? It's more spontaneous. And I don't play any better if I warm up. I can play right away just like that.
Do you keep up with the community nowadays through the internet and YouTube? That there are a lot of guitarists, new guitarists, and are trying to make a career out of themselves, and they post videos and stuff like that. Do you keep up with that? Do you see?
No, I don't really enjoy YouTube like that. I would find it more interesting to see somebody in real life.
Okay.
You know, so if we play on a festival and there's a great guitar player, I would enjoy that, you know, but on the YouTube, it makes everything so small. It makes everything so not magical.
Okay.
I don't know, you know?
Yeah. Throughout your career, you have played with a lot of guitars.
Oh, guitars?
Guitars, yes.
Not so many guitars. Have I?
I don't know. It's not only the ones
With
that
the
we
Scorpions,
see.
I've always played the same one. With Electric Sun, it was always just one guitar. And
You don't.
towards the end of the Electric Sun, it was the Sky guitar. And I always played the same ones. So I haven't played that many. I've got quite a few guitars, but why are you asking that question?
Well, I was kind of wondering which one is closer to the heart of all.
You know, there are some of my favorites, but then I tend to play guitars for different reasons, and they're my favorites, you know. My White Strat was always my favorite. I still have that guitar. And then my Mighty Wing Sky guitar was my favorite. I still love that guitar. It's beautiful. And then at the moment I play one of the Dean Sky guitars, the Dom and J Dean Sky guitars, which is great to be on tour. It's perfect. So, yeah.
You don't have one that stands out.
The ones that I play stand out. I like them all, but they're all for different reasons, you know. And some are more easygoing, and some are a little bit more a handful. With some of my guitars, you never know what happens. Some of them are more difficult to handle, and some are very easy to handle. So,
gear-wise, amp or pedals or stomp boxes,
yes,
do you use that?
My favorite live amp is a Black Star 100-watt Artisan. I can't always get it, and they're difficult to get in some countries. So
you settle with something else.
Yeah, and usually I'm very disappointed. Most amps I don't like for my specific setup. I tend to gravitate to older amps like old Marshall Plexis because they have the headroom and they're clean and they're singing in the way I like it. Most of the more modern amps, like the modern Marshalls, they're more made for the metal approach where you have like a clean channel and a crunch, and I never do that. I always play on one channel, and my channel is always clean. So when I play one of the more contemporary Marshalls, for me the clean channel is usually too hard and not singing enough, you know. So I much prefer the old Plexis. But there are many good amps on the market. It really depends on what you want. But for my Sky guitars in particular, some amps are better than others, you know. Look, I like the old AC30. I started on AC30. They're great amps, but it's a specialist kind of thing, you know. I can get a good sound out of them, but I wouldn't get, say, the sound that I use for the Scorpions, you know. But when I did my Metamorphosis album, I used the AC30 mainly, you know. But I blew it up 6 times in a row. And I had one of these, and I had also like various combos. They don't last very long with me, unfortunately. Yeah, but at the moment my Black Star is my favorite. Also, it's extremely reliable. And with most other amps, I used to have a lot of problems because my guitar has a lot of output, it has 100 dB output. Of course.
Stomp boxes? pedals? If you
I
use a clean amp?
I have a variety. No, you see, I can drive any amp, even when it's on 1 or 2 from the Sky guitar, because I've got a 100 dB gain boost. So I can make any amp sing before it dies. You know, very often they sound the best before they die. But as I say, not every amp can take it. The artisan can take it, and it's very reliable.
How did you come up with the idea for that secret, the 100 dB?
Long time ago, I wanted to be able to control everything from the guitar. So I've got studio EQ in the guitar, because every room is different. You know, I didn't want like gadgets and amps, and it's my guitar is set up in a way that I've got a perfect 3D environment in the guitar. So any amp I play, I can get the best out of the amp, and it always gives me a great tone, you know. With a normal guitar, I don't get that, you know. So I've got a very sophisticated pickup system in the guitar, which also allows me to have a super clean single coil, but at the touch of a switch, I can change the magnetic field of the pickup and turn it into like a real Les Paul humbucking, you know. So, and I use these 2 sounds, and in between.
Hopefully next time you come, we can show the gear as well.
Yeah, well, I don't have the guitar here, you know.
Okay.
It's asleep in the hotel.
So, for the last question, what are your plans for the near or the not so near future, if you have any?
Well, you know, I tend to take it like day by day. I used to have plans in the past. Usually they, you know.
No work.
Yeah, usually something else happens, you know. So, we've recorded a live album, and I still need to mix that, you know. So that's one thing that will happen this year.
Can we wait a live album from this gig with Guitarspot?
Yeah, it's this. No. We've already done that. You know, it's I want my plan is to do 3 live albums. I wanted to do one for each part of my journey. You know, so the first one is all Scorpions stuff. So it's called Scorpions Revisited, and it's my way of reinterpreting the sins of my youth, really. You know, then I want to do an Electric Sun live album and a Sky of Avalon live album, but that's later. I've also written a new album, but so far I haven't had time to record it yet, you know, so we will see. I've also been writing a Sky Academy book about the metaphysics of music, very easy subject.
Yeah.
And but I've written a few 100 pages, but it still needs a lot of editing. And
is it challenging enough for you?
Is what?
Is it challenging enough for you?
The book is a challenge, and the challenge is that it's all the stuff that really fascinates me personally, and that I know can really help you to get better in terms of playing and understanding, like the deeper mysteries of music. But I'm trying to write it in such a way that also non-musicians can understand it, and that's kind of hard. It's difficult to find the right kind of tone, you know. So it's been giving me some headaches, actually, and I've rejected a lot of first drafts, and I started again. So we'll see. Maybe it'll never finish.
Well, we hope it finishes.
We will see.
Mr. Jon Roth, thank you very much for your time. It was a humbling experience to get to know you.
Thank you. Thank you. And you.
Για περισσότερες συνεντεύξεις, παρουσιάσεις μουσικού εξοπλισμού και online μαθήματα κιθάρας, επισκεφτείτε το Guitarspot.gr.